What would you do if your best friend and your wife, people who were practically family, betrayed you in the most intimate way imaginable? In today's story, the protagonist's choice is a masterclass in how to handle it. Mark and his wife, Laura, had been like family to my wife, Chloe, and me for several years, ever since we moved in across the street from them. The four of us were inseparable. Our kids were the same age and best friends. We were one big family unit, sharing dinners multiple times a week and even vacationing together. I genuinely saw Mark as a brother, and Chloe and Laura were incredibly close too. Then, 5 months ago, my world was completely shattered by the discovery of an affair between Chloe and Mark. It began subtly. My wife had left her email open on our computer, and a message from her longtime therapist caught my eye. It mentioned that Mark would be joining her at an upcoming session again. Again? My mind started racing. Why on earth would my best friend be attending my wife's therapy sessions without my knowledge? A quick search through her email archives unearthed more messages to and from the therapist, proving Mark had been attending sessions with her for about 6 weeks. The next step was our mobile phone account. The records I found there were horrifying. Since late summer, they had been exchanging hundreds of texts every single day, peaking at nearly 500 a day around the holidays. Speaking of the holidays, we had hosted both of our families for Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, and Mark and Laura had joined us for both. The text records showed that the entire time they were in our home, celebrating with our parents and siblings, Chloe and Mark were secretly texting each other from across the room. They did this every time the four of us hung out. 4 months. But the part that eats me alive is that they did it with Laura and me sitting right there with them. They were so wrapped up in their secret world, completely unaware that the very technology connecting them was also creating a permanent, undeniable record of their betrayal, a record that would ultimately become their undoing. When I finally confronted Chloe with the evidence, she collapsed and admitted everything. She and Mark had fallen in love. It just happened. I don't know how, she cried, but I love him and I just don't feel anything for you anymore. I'm sorry. She told me it started on a school district trip they went on together. Something had happened in her hotel room, and things escalated quickly from there. It's a pretty sanitized way to describe it, as one commenter later pointed out, saying, well, that's one way to put it. As I lay face down on the couch, unable to even look at her, she explained their plan. They were going to divorce me and Laura, and while they wouldn't move in together right away for the kids' sake, they planned to eventually. Those therapy sessions? They were supposedly to figure out how to break the news to me and Laura as gently as possible, because they were just so concerned for our well-being. Laura and I are almost certain they never planned to tell us about the affair at all, and were just going to discover their feelings for each other months after finding some other excuse to leave us. 2 months ago, Chloe moved out. I was, and in many ways still am, utterly destroyed. I cry every day, and I worry constantly about the impact on our kids. But I am not someone who sits back quietly when I've been wronged. And in this case, I was objectively, profoundly wronged. My thoughts quickly turned to revenge. A couple of years ago, Mark had run for a seat on the Board of Education as an extreme underdog. I'd helped with his campaign materials and debate prep, while Chloe, a well-known school district employee, spread the word. He shocked everyone by winning by just a few dozen votes. Being on the board became the center of his universe. It was also the foundation of his affair with my wife. As they were constantly at school events and meetings together, it occurred to me that an affair between a Board of Education member and a district employee was, at a minimum, terrible politics, and possibly a violation of district policy. Making things even more precarious for them was Chloe's career. She was on the verge of a major promotion to an administrative position, a job everyone knew was basically hers. She had just completed her master's degree in school administration, encouraged by her principal and the superintendent, specifically for this role. I had a mountain of evidence, texts from both of them admitting to the affair, phone records, emails with the therapist. I could have just sent it all to the board and the superintendent, but I worried that coming from a grieving, betrayed husband, my evidence might not be seen as credible. I needed them to expose themselves. So, I invented a fictitious furious friend. I described this friend to Chloe as someone utterly disgusted by their behavior, someone who was planning to attend the next board meeting and publicly shame them both. I told her I had tried to talk this person down, but I couldn't guarantee they wouldn't show up and cause a massive scene. I could see the panic in her eyes. She immediately called Mark, and just as I predicted, His vanity and arrogance took over. Terrified of being publicly humiliated on his own turf, he concluded that his only option was to get ahead of the story. He would preemptively admit the affair to the board himself. This revealed Mark's greatest fatal flaw, his vanity. He was so terrified of being publicly embarrassed by someone else that he chose to embarrass himself, believing he could control the narrative. He never once considered that the outcome, resignation and disgrace, would be the same. As a commenter on my original post perfectly summarized it, getting them to press a self-destruct button, outstanding move. The superintendent recommended that Mark resign, which he did immediately. Laura told me he was absolutely crushed, so humiliated that he barely got out of bed for days. Once news of the affair and Mark's resignation spread, the superintendent, a longtime friend to both Chloe and Mark, tearfully called my wife. He informed her it was no longer politically appropriate to promote her to an administrative position within the district. The job that had been her entire focus was quietly filled by an outside candidate. This sent a wave of confusion and rumors through the school district, where it was common knowledge that the job was Chloe's. The day after she lost the promotion, despite everything, we took our son out for his birthday breakfast. A parent from the school stopped by our table to congratulate Chloe on her new role. She mumbled a thank you, then excused herself to go cry in the bathroom. I let the dust settle for a couple of weeks. Then, just before she moved out for good, I let them both in on my little secret. There was never a furious friend. There was only me. Word has gotten around our small town. Chloe won't talk to me about work, but I've heard her once spotless reputation is in tatters. And Mark, once a gregarious social butterfly, has gone completely underground. He barely even comes outside to mow his lawn. He's moving out soon, into a sad little townhouse that's all he can afford after child support. They claim they're going to try to make it work, but I can only imagine how much fun it will be for them to show their faces together in this town. People have asked if my revenge hurt the kids financially. Not really. The board position was Mark's hobby. It didn't affect his income. And Chloe was assured she'd get glowing recommendations if she sought an administrative job in another district, though it would mean leaving behind a 20-year career and all her work relationships. For now, not taking the promotion means she still has her summers off with our kids. The other question I get is whether Laura and I are a thing now. The answer is no. We're friends. We have been an incredible support for each other, leaning on one another through this identical nightmare. But that's it. We plan to get the kids together more often once Mark finally moves out. His constant presence across the street makes things difficult. Looking back, I can't believe I was so blind. The texting had been getting excessive for months, to the point where Chloe was ignoring me and the kids completely. Her relationship with Mark was also starting to make me uncomfortable, and Laura had noticed it too. We even confronted them about it, and they both swore it was just school business. We believed them, because your mind refuses to see what it doesn't want to see. It's been 4 years now, and though I'm in a much better place, with a new girlfriend and a new life, the story still resonates. I'm not that broken man anymore. My revenge gave me a sense of justice, a feeling that they didn't just get away with it. They built their own prison of humiliation, and I just handed them the key. The story shows that when you're betrayed by those you trust most, sometimes the most powerful form of vindication is allowing them to become the architects of their own destruction. But what do you think? Was the furious friend a stroke of genius, or a step too far? Let me know your take in the comments.